GOHi's, the Global One Health Initiative's 10th year anniversary. As you all know, we have had different plenary sessions honoring our 10th year anniversary. Today's session will be addressing our partnership throughout Africa, and we are honored to have distinguished speakers from 3 different countries, even if the Global One Health Initiative's activity spans in different countries other than even the Ethiopia, Kenya, and Tanzania. We have representatives from the 3 countries who will be telling us about, since they were part of our history, the plenary talks will be celebrating, honoring our 10th year anniversary, the different activities and impact that we had on the ground on research, education, outreach activities. Our first speaker for today will be Professor Samuel Kariuki. Professor Samuel Kariuki, as most of you here know, has his DVM. I have an honor to introduce him. He has got his DVM degree and a master's from University of Nairobi. He has done his PhD at the London School of Tropical Medicine. He is currently a substantive director and research and development and acting director general at the Kenyan Medical Research Institute. He is a fellow of a different institution, to mention a few: African Academy of Science. He's also an honorary faculty here at OSU and also at the Wellcome Sanger's honorary faculty as well. He's a visiting professor of tropical microbiology at Nuffield Department of Medicine, University of Oxford. He served as a member of different international strategic technical working groups, to mention a few. He's a member of the WHO Antimicrobial Resistance Working Advisory Committee. His research interest is mainly on epidemiology and genomics throughout Africa, focusing on enteric bacteria and antimicrobial resistance. He has published more than 162 peer-reviewed international publications and 4 textbooks focusing on antimicrobial resistance and food safety. He has led a number of initiatives and has also worked with us on some of our grants, to mention the major one, the NIH D43. He's the main contributor leading our Kenya effort. Professor Kariuki is also a member of the National Antimicrobial Stewardship Committee, overseeing the implementation of what we call the National Action Plan from the Kenyan side. Professor Samuel Kariuki, the floor is yours. And colleagues who have joined us today, please keep on. You're free to use the Q&A session to ask us questions and keep on interacting. Professor Kariuki, it's an honor to give you the virtual floor.
Thank you very much, Dr. Getnet, for that very kind introduction. Yes, I would say I'm very, very privileged to be able to be part of this team for the last 15 years, and being able to be part of a team that has excelled in building capacity, especially for colleagues from low and middle income countries in the area of One Health. I would say, I think unequivocally that with confidence that we are able to make One Health a real issue for governments in our region. Previously, as you know, we have worked in silos, not just in terms of infectious diseases, but also in terms of AMR, which is really an ongoing pandemic and which needs very, very urgent attention. So from where I sit, this has been a very, very useful interaction with colleagues in very high income countries like the US, our colleagues from Ohio State University, and colleagues in the region here, in getting together, not just a training grant, but also projects that were jointly carried out with a view to making sure that we present to our governments One Health as a real issue to be tackled for improvement of how we are able to look at the issue of AMR in supporting improvement in public health and in supporting improvement in animal health as well. And currently, of course, we are having efforts in improvement towards addressing environmental issues that are key and a key component and a member of the One Health component. So I think as opening remarks, I would say this has been a very, very useful 10 years of GOHi, but 15 years of collaboration towards making One Health a real issue in our debate. Over to you, and I'll be looking forward to interacting in terms of what we might call pertinent issues for discussion in this forum.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Professor Kariuki. And obviously, as you indicated, we'll come back to address some of the issues that may be raised by the different panelists and also colleagues out there. Okay, thank you very much. Colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker will be Professor Rudovick Kazwala. Professor Rudovick Kazwala is indeed an honor to introduce you, and another distinguished speaker. Professor Kazwala has his Bachelor of Veterinary Science from University of Sokoine, the Sokoine University of Agriculture. He did his Masters of Veterinary Medicine in Ireland, also did his PhD at Edinburgh, UK. He's a professor of ecosystem and public health in the Department of Veterinary Medicine and Public Health at the College of Veterinary and Medical Sciences, Sokoine University of Agriculture, a major collaborator for the Ohio State Global One Health Initiative. He's very well published, like Professor Kariuki, and has mentored a number of students as well. He has got numerous awards, and he's a chair. He is a chair of the Veterinary Council of Tanzania from 2013 up to 2021. He's also a member of the IHR, as you all know. IHR determines a lot of what we do, and he's also in the roster of experts in the veterinary issues and zoonosis and coordinating research and on bacterial zoonosis, different organizations as well. His focus is on foodborne pathogens again, Salmonella, Campylobacter, viral zoonosis, Rift Valley fever, and bacterial zoonosis, Brucellosis, Leptospira, bovine tuberculosis, and he has been working with different networks, African, OHealth, our own D43 grant, to mention a few. Professor Kazwala has dedicated his life on One Health and advancing the career, anything that comes around zoonotic disease, animal, and also livelihood improvement projects. He has been engaged with different universities in the US, to mention one pivotal one. He works with the UC Davis group and University of Agriculture, Sokoine University of Agriculture partnership. He leads that partnership. He also led the USAID, the pandemic trade program, as you all know, the emerging pandemic trade program. We all remember the PREDICT project. He has been leading the Tanzanian part there as well, doing wildlife surveillance. So he will be sharing his experience today to our audience here. And of course, I won't leave without mentioning the fact that he's ranked as a #1 research scientist in Tanzania, according to a scientific index published in 2021. Professor Kazwala, it's indeed an honor to have you in this plenary session. The floor is yours to say few words about the Global One Health contribution and whatever you may feel. Floor is yours.
Well, thank you so much for that very in-depth introduction of my career. I'm honored to be working with the Ohio State University. And as you mentioned, we have been working together for quite a number of years. It all started from around 2007 or 2009, where a visit was made to our institution by faculty from Ohio State. And we had very fruitful discussions about forging collaborations. And that came about not only for Tanzania, it was also for other East African, notably the University of Nairobi and the University of Addis Ababa, who were the first member of this consortium. And in this consortium, we were initially focusing on veterinary public health. But as we went along, as Dr. Kariuki mentioned, some other issues of One Health emerged. And it was not only forging partnership for training, but also for research and outreach activities. So throughout these 15 years of collaboration, and in particular 10 years of Global One Health Initiative, I've been working with the Ohio states, first of all, supporting our students or our academic staff and research scientists in terms of training. So we had a good training of technicians, and then training of academic staff who went for PhD at Ohio, and also masters at Ohio. And then we had participations and coordinating the ICOFE, which was also part of the Global One Health Initiative. We worked on that. I think it has gone for 4 rounds, if I'm not mistaken. And it was very, very successful arrangement for scientists to gather, not only scientists, but also students and the policymaker to gather and discuss things of mutual interest regarding One Health. And in 2017, I think we all gathered in Addis Ababa, and where we had the signing of memorandum of agreement among the institutions. So we have a 5-year, I think it's a 5-year memoranda, which according to that calendar, it means next year is up for renewal. So we are, with that memoranda, we have identified some of the things which we can work together as from 2017 all the way to 2022. So I would say that this initiative has enabled us to strengthen our institutions in the aspects of One Health and the global health. Before that, not many institutions were aware that we can collaborate, we can cooperate, we can communicate in between different disciplines, and we were working in silos. The health of human was not considered to be influenced by activities in animals, and vice versa. So, but now this knowledge has come about, and there has been some good example of infectious diseases which have occurred, which require a One Health approach. And that being able to do collaboration, have the capacity of people knowledgeable on One Health, it's also part of what this initiative provided for. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Professor Kazwala, for sharing your wisdom again. Last but not least, we'll be going to our third speaker, plenary speaker, and before starting our discussion forum, and our third speaker is Dr. Tagaw Fentie. We have started from Kenya, come to Tanzania, and moving to Ethiopia now. Dr. Tsegaw is currently working at the University of Gondar. He has got a Doctor of Veterinary Medicine and a Master's, and also he has got his PhD all from Addis Ababa University. He's currently an associate professor in infectious disease and epidemiology. He served at the University of Gondar in different, as an instructor, as a researcher, at the department head. But the most important one that's closer to our work was when he served as a Dean of College of Veterinary Medicine and Animal Science. He has published quite a number of publications, peer-reviewed international on local publication, and he's currently coordinating a research project supported by USAID and Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Dr. Tsegaw, the floor is yours to reflect about the impact of GOHi and One Health in general from the Ethiopian perspective.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Getnet. Can you hear me?
Yes, we do hear you very well.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Really, I'm very honored being a member of this team. Thank you for your introduction. Yeah, I'm working at the University of Gondar in the College of Veterinary Medicine. So thank you for your introduction. Can I use my PowerPoints for
yes,
my
please.
presentation?
Yes, please. Laura, I think you can present using, you see the green button down there, the share screen?
Yeah.
Please go ahead and
Yeah, apologies. Is my slide coming?
No, not yet. Not yet.
Yep.
Do you see the green button, the share screen?
Yeah, I'm trying.
If it's not working, we can also go ahead and okay.
Yeah,
Please,
it's not.
okay. Please go ahead. I think now you're the host. Thanks, Laura.
Okay. So the slide is not coming. Is that not?
Try it for the last time.
Yeah, so I can try to read. Probably the network is not good. That might be a problem. Yeah, sorry for the inconvenience. Yeah,
you could try sharing one more time.
Sorry?
If you could try sharing one more time, we made you host just in case there were any issues with the, I guess, restrictions. So maybe give it one more try to share.
ምንድን ነው እንደዚህ ብዥ የሚል ምንድን ነው ምን ሲሆን ነው?
I think it's okay, Dr. Tsegaw. Let's proceed and let's hear from you. Yeah. So you don't need to present it like, you don't need to share the slide. Just go ahead and present from your computer. Yeah. And we'll hear you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I will just continue. Dr. Getnet, can you hear me?
Yes, we do hear you very well.
Yeah. Sorry for the network. It's a bit unstable. I think that's a problem. Yeah, I'm just going to present the experiences of the collaboration with Ohio State University. So we have been engaged in different activities, especially we have been engaged on projects, on capacity building, trainings, and the education research activities. We started a collaboration with Ohio State in 2010. That was the first memorandum of agreement was taken to conduct or to collaborate in the area of research, the faculty student exchange, and the training and joint degree. So we started the first meeting in 2011 during the first GOHi meeting in Addis Ababa. And the strategic plan was developed to continue with those collaborative activities. So in the 2011, we started development of MPH, VPH graduate training in Gondar University. That was an experience in Ohio State. So it was first activity to start. So Ohio State University faculty assisted us in the development of the curriculum and even in the delivery of courses. And in the 2012 strategic plan was the second strategic plan was developed to be implemented between 2013 and 2015 by the collaboration of both faculty team from Ohio State University and University of Gondar. And in 2013, the One Health Consortium was established in Gondar University. So I will mention some of the major activities conducted starting from 2011. So our first and profound activity was on rabies control. That was implemented in collaboration with Ohio State with the support of CDC. And it was the first disease prioritized in Ethiopia as a zoonotic disease. So that was a priority disease to make some activities. So we try to identify first by conducting survey in the country, especially in Gondar area and both South Gondar and North Gondar. So Ohio State University postgraduate students were involved in the survey, the identification of health problems and the society, the dog ecology, and so on. And then we start to conduct mass vaccination in urban areas. And dog population control was also another activity planned by spaying and neutering. And awareness creation about the disease was also our target through different communication methods using the mass media and using written materials and even celebrating World Rabies Days. And we bring people for stakeholder meetings. And we were also involved in the case identification by conducting rabies surveillance. So this has been done until 2018. Later on, this project was shifted to Addis Ababa, and Addis Ababa was taken as a pilot area. But we continued with the activities with limited resource, with the support of the university. But the experience we gained from Ohio State University was very interesting because faculty were coming to University of Gondar to train our staff, our faculties, and even supporting with technical skills, especially in conducting neutering, spaying, and so on. So we continued with this activity nowadays. With the second activity, we're involved in the tuberculosis project. So we are doing a rapid TB diagnostic test, evaluating those diagnostic kits, both for Mycobacterium tuberculosis and bovine tuberculosis. So postgraduate students were involved on running those activities. So the Mycobacterium tuberculosis, 2 PhD students and 1 MS student were attached to conduct this study. And for the bovine tuberculosis, one MSc student was involved to conduct this study, and kids were evaluated and analysis was conducted. So there are a number of publications available for both activities in human and bovine tuberculosis. And the third project was the Oslosis Project. This has been also implemented with the support of CDC. So this was a national project, but we were involved in the study that has been done in Amhara region. So we were involved in sample collection from cattle and humans. So a large number of samples were collected. Data were also additional information was collected through questionnaire and so on. So sample was submitted to respective laboratories for veterinary medicine, for vet lab, and for public health lab in Bahar Dar. And the genotyping activity is supposed to be done by GOHi and National Animal Health Diagnostic Investigation Center at Sabata. The fourth activity was veterinary education training program that was also supported by World Animal Health Organization, and this has been done by tuning, that was to tune the curriculum of veterinary education to the day one competency, graduates competency. So in this project, it was started in 2015, and we were working on the development of curriculum, especially evaluating gaps and harmonized to GOHi recommendations. So in this project, the target was just to produce competent veterinary graduates in the Gondar University as well as in Ethiopia. So this project was very, very much helpful. So we identified gaps in the curriculum, that our veterinary curriculum is highly harmonized in the country. So that was very helpful also to improve the national harmonized veterinary curriculum. So all veterinary school deans, representatives, and some faculties, representative faculties from those colleges have been also involved, and faculty from Ohio State University were also involved in the identification of gaps and on the way forward. So with this, we harmonized our veterinary curriculum, and we also, our model curriculum was used also to develop the national harmonized veterinary curriculum in 2020 with the support of Ministry of Education and Science. So this was very, very interesting and very fruitful project. And we were able to send the students to Ohio State and faculties. So we trained about 16 students, especially to practice on population medicine and on One Health, public health rotation. So they were tuned with the Ohio University students, and they were able to share, to get experiences from students from delivering of education in the US, and also able to visit, farms, poultry, dairy farms, processing plants, meat and milk processing plants, and so on. So they were very informed, and they shared their experiences in seminar to their colleagues when they get returned to University of Gondar. So that was very helpful for improving our veterinary education. So nowadays we have developed a day one online platform for the veterinary education. So we are using developing materials with Ohio State University and Iowa State University. So these materials are currently used in our university, as well as the veterinary schools are also using those materials. And we are also working with to produce more materials with the help of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. The other activity was Summer One Health Institute training. So this training it was started in 2012, and we have been training a number of faculty, field veterinarians, and public health practitioners from Warada, from zones, from the region, even from the federal offices have been involved. Postgraduate students have been participating. So a number of courses have been delivered. So professors from Ohio State University and some other universities have been involved in delivering those courses. So this was a very helpful for capacity building in our country, especially to introduce the concept of One Health and to bring different disciplines to work together. And workshops have been also done, a number of cases side by side. And we have also working in collaboration with Ohio State in graduating programs. So as I previously mentioned, we are running the MPH, BPH program, and that's MSc program, and nursing. Our PhD students are also, given scholarship by OHART. So currently we have 3 PhD students being supported by GOHi. Another engagements, there are numerous engagements of Ohio State University with Gondar universities, especially now we are also working with a food safety project, that is the Tartar. So we have students supported by this project, and even we are renovating our molecular laboratory in the College of Veterinary Medicine in Gondar University. So that's very much helpful for postgraduate students, PhD students to work their research in our university. So we are to furnish the near future. There are also other activities, the cervical cancer project, registry and treatment, the ICT capacity building, ophthalmology, environmental health and food safety, molecular epidemiology of foodborne pathogens, and so on, have been also working with Ohio. So in general, really this Ohio State University of Gondar partnership in One Health was productive, especially in capacitating our human resource and in supporting research and education. So really, we are very thankful for this collaboration, and in the future, I hope we'll maintain this effort and momentum. So thank you for listening to me.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Tsegaw. Really appreciate your reflection. Thank you all the speakers for sharing with us your wisdom and also what kind of impact we're making on the ground. Now, during our discussion in the coming minutes, we'll be focusing, we'll zoom out a little bit and discuss on One Health and also giving example on the global One Health experience. So my first question we do encourage all the participants here to put your question on the chat box, and we'll try to address them as they come. I'm seeing a hand from Martin Mwange and other colleagues. We encourage you to put it in the chat. So with that, I think I will throw a few points for our discussion, and then panelists will be deliberating on those points. So the first one is Professor Kariuki, you mentioned a wonderful point whereby you were focusing on Laura, if you don't mind helping muting. Colleagues, if you may mute yourself. Yes, thank you. So the very first one, which is very, very interesting, Professor Kariuki, that you mentioned, is the government of Kenya didn't only make it an issue at the government level, it was a real issue. The word real is really very pivotal here. I want us, all our panelists to reflect on where we are in terms, in Tanzania, in Ethiopia, and in Kenya, making it a sustainable issue. We all have heard that One Health has gone even beyond the government and has become, in the G7 meeting, we hear about One Health. At the tripartite, during different platforms, be it OIE, WHO, FAO, and others, we hear One Health in relation to the pandemic and beyond. So the audience here wants to learn, Professor Kariuki and also others, to reflect on what did it take to reach there, to have a real buy-in for the government, to have One Health as a real issue. We start from, we want to learn from the challenge and also the process so that other countries and audience may learn from there. The floor is yours, Professor Kariuki, and then followed by
Thank you very much, Dr. Getnet, for that, again, reiteration of the importance of real, putting this as a real issue before stakeholders. I would say it's not easy. It's not a straightforward issue, but we require, first of all, to be able to realize who are really the stakeholders in One Health approach in addressing antimicrobial resistance, as well as, of course, the issue of zoonosis, as it were, because that cuts across the board. In our deliberations in the country, we started off by having a very thorough stakeholder engagement in the Ministry of Agriculture, in the Ministry of Livestock, in the Ministry of Health, and the Ministry of Environment and Habitation. And this was born out of the fact that we did a situation analysis and we were able to map out gaps in all the three different ecosystems that make up a truly One Health approach in addressing antimicrobial resistance and global health especially combined, which means, of course, looking at the wholesomeness of global health as it affects public health, as it affects animal health, as it affects the issue of the environment. And our stakeholders, starting from the policy makers down to those that are really those that are going to implement the policies, those that are so-called line managers in different ministries, were engaged right at the beginning. And what we asked them to do is to put up a commitment in terms of being able to have global health as part and parcel of their agenda in their line ministries, so that it becomes a standing agenda for all their communication, for all their meetings, and for budget purposes, to be able to put some funding for addressing global health as an emergency. And we have succeeded to some extent. And apart from that, having the national stakeholders engagement and approval, we have also attracted external partners who have come along to be able to work with us and partner with us and collaborate on making global health a standing agenda, global health as a major issue for government and especially policymakers. So going forward, what we have realized is that we must be able to communicate accurately to stakeholders. Secondly, be able to be open to all stakeholders and especially policymakers with regard to what are the expectations. If we engage in making global health a standing agenda, what are the implications? What are the costs? How can we put our money where our mouth is? How can we be able to really put that agenda in terms of how it's going to contribute to building wealth for our nation? What are we gaining in terms of enabling global health as a standing agenda, in terms of how much we save in foreign currency, how much we save in lives, how much we save in terms of building our own local capacity rather than always asking for help from external sources. These are pertinent issues that once you have a buy-in from stakeholders, then they see that it's more profitable to engage meaningfully by embracing a truly global health initiative rather than wait for us to be just reactive to issues. And we have seen this in examples of addressing national action plans to combat and prevent antimicrobial resistance. We have worked with various government agencies in the three ecosystems, in agriculture, livestock, in human health, and also in the environment. And we now have a standing committee that annually is producing a report, very, very powerful report showing the milestones we have achieved from the previous year. And it's important to keep engaging stakeholders so that we hold them accountable for what they promise to do, and for them to see that there is gain in implementing what we have laid down as action plans. And I've just given an implementation of the National Action Plan as one example, but there are other examples. We have other examples, for example, of the Ministry of Health working very, very closely with Zoonosis Disease Prevention Unit in the Ministry of Agriculture and Ministry of Health in addressing key viral zoonosis. And we've seen this in the last 5 years, and it couldn't have been possible if the two agencies, those in agriculture and those in public health, came together to put minds together and do this complementary so that efforts on both sides are brought to bear to bring the best outcome in addressing viral zoonosis that affect both livestock and humans, and especially those that I would call neglected viral infectious diseases. So I will submit for now, and then we can continue the debate. Thank you.
Wow, thanks very much again, Professor Kariuki. Such a wonderful strategy and great lesson learned. Starting from the advocate and communicate to engage, commit, sustain, and also report at the same time, making it accountable across all the paths as you do that. Such a wonderful platform, and approaching it in a very systemic way so that it could be there as a sustainable model, not only for Kenya, but also for other countries too. May I give the floor now to Professor Kazwala to reflect on the same issue from the Tanzanian perspective. Professor Kazwala.
Thank you, Getnet. I wouldn't be so much far from what my colleague has narrated regarding the One Health issues, but I would like to give you a bit of a history. And based on what was happening in my country around 1990s all the way to 2000. In 1990s, there was an upsurge of AIDS, HIV/AIDS. But we still had tuberculosis as a disease which is affecting adult population. But in tuberculosis, from the veterinary perspective, we are aware that livestock can contribute to the occurrence of tuberculosis. And in early 1990s, the manual which was put up by the Ministry of Health regarding control of tuberculosis in the country did not consider bovine tuberculosis or animal-derived tuberculosis to be of concern. So the manual was silent on bovine tuberculosis. Through collaborative work between my institution and the National Institute for Medical Research, we embarked on a project on looking at bovine tuberculosis in humans. And we were able to demonstrate much of the extrapulmonary TB was emanating from the animal situation. In fact, it was about 16%. So that called for the national program to rethink and modify some statements in the manual when they were revising the manual. And in the following manual, then it was indicated that bovine tuberculosis is of concern, though rare. So a statement was there to recognize the importance of bovine tuberculosis. But since then, collaborative projects have come up between medical institutions and veterinary institutions looking at a common problem, and notably brucellosis, rabies, and other diseases. Again, we know about rabies. Rabies has been an endemic disease throughout, and it was tackled in silos, where you have veterinarians vaccinating dogs and the other animals, and the human medical health sector is addressing the issues of post-exposure treatments. Now, the post-exposure treatments were very expensive, but the vaccines for dogs were cheap. So we embarked on a project in around the late 1990s to 2000, looking at how we can control rabies in humans through vaccination in dogs. And this was a targeted project in a particular southern eastern part of the country. And they could demonstrate as much as you do vaccination of the dogs, you put resources in vaccination of the dogs, you control or you minimize exposure of human to rabies. So the silo effect was removed in this case. The project was multidisciplinary, working together. Coming to Rift Valley fever, which occurred, there was in 2006, 2007, which occurred in many of the countries. We didn't recognize that there was imminent, there was a possibility of Rift Valley fever, despite the health warnings which were given by meteorological agencies in the countries, notably Tanzania and also in Kenya. And there, we were late to act. In fact, in livestock, people started to see abortions in animals. Then there were human cases. But when we tried the weather, the involvement of livestock, and the human cases, it was really late. Mortalities were there. Human being died. In Tanzania, about 400 people died because of Rift Valley fever. We could have acted earlier if we should have forecast through the weather. So that brings us to these three elements of the One Health: animal health, human health, and environmental health. We are really working in a situation where these are areas where they share common interests. So I would say, in my country, the movement of One Health came about through these experiences which we have gone through, particularly the Rift Valley fever, where the government decided to put a team of junior ministers from 8 ministries to go around in the communities to educate people on what to do regarding the control of Rift Valley fever. So the government was buying in, put resources for buying vaccines for control of the Rift Valley fever. So you can see that the government was pulled in to work on One Health. And then, of course, with the support from donors or development partners, when there was a threat of avian influenza, the cases were occurring in Far East, and some European countries did not reach in our place. But there was a global concern that we need to act as one. So that pulled together again people in different professions, sectors to work together. And the ministry formed, by then it was not called One Health, but it was a multi-sectoral team, which involved people from the health, people from the medical, and the people from the animal sector, and in particular wildlife. So you can see there was a trend which was coming from those years through experiences and the scientific evidence to show that we need to work together. Of course, the movement of One Health took up, and the tripartite in the WHO, FAO, OHi pushed some of our countries. The American support for global security agenda also pushed our countries to work in the One Health platform. So today in my country, Tanzania, we have One Health Coordination Desk, which coordinates all these conditions which are of zoonotic nature or which are influenced by the 3 elements. Of course, One Health may go beyond those 3 elements. It may go into even plant or crop sector to involve them in the, so I would say that One Health is a movement which we have buying in, and we are working on it. And now it is really a parcel of our government in terms of control of diseases. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Professor Kazwala. That's very impressive. The way the Kenyan approach and the way the Tanzanian approach, how much the government is pulled, learning the hardest way from the Rift Valley fever, telling us about the history and how much One Health is indeed, the game changer in terms of being problem solving, be it naming it a multi-sectoral collaboration or otherwise, in terms of solving. And now you're telling us that there is a sustainable One Health coordination platform desk running at the government level with a wonderful ownership. So very glad to hear that. And I hope that the audience and other African countries and LMIC beyond have a lot to learn from this different perspective and lesson. Dr. Tsegaw, do you want to reflect the same from the Ethiopian side as well? Thank you so much. And we're receiving wonderful comments from audience here. I will be asking those questions coming from the audience as we move along as well. Thanks very much. Yeah. Dr. Tsegaw, floor is yours. Unmute, please. Dr. Tsegaw, do you hear me? We're not hearing you. If you may unmute yourself.
Yeah.
Yes, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Now, yeah, okay. Thank you. From the Ethiopian perspective, really, the concept of One Health was really a very new idea, and fortunately we were able to really recognize the importance of bringing different disciplines to overcome diseases affecting both animals and humans was really initiated during avian influenza pandemic. So that was the first incidence that brought people from Ministry of Health, people from Ministry of Agriculture, and from others as well. So that opportunity were created, and at a national level there is a steering body that monitors the incidence of avian influenza. But still, we are suffering from endemic zoonotic diseases, including rabies, anthrax, and other Kenya C. actually leptospirus and other foodborne diseases. So the challenge in our country is, bringing these different stakeholders into one stage. Even those initiated started during avian influenza, it has to be continued with that momentum. But we are very recently that we are able even to prioritize those important zoonotic diseases at a national level. That was done in 2015. So since then, there are some activities started to overcome problems, especially controlling of canine rabies, anthrax, and tuberculosis and brucellosis. But what I see as a problem is we're not able to really have a national figure. We are not mapping those diseases at a national level. What is the magnitude? What is the burden in animals and even in humans? And we should really have a national information in general, and we should bring our energy to come up with those diseases, especially because they are affecting our livestock, our human, our society, especially in the marginal areas, in the rural areas, and in the urban slums. They are highly affected by those diseases. So in the future, I think at the country, we need to work really to bring this effort, and it should be institutionalized. Nowadays, who is responsible to lead this One Health effort at a national level? So in most cases, Ministry of Health, especially the Ethiopian Public Health Institution, is, I think, playing the role, but it should be strengthened. It should be supported by finance, and even we have to capacitate our human resource. Our laboratory facilities should be equipped and available, and we should also concentrate especially on the evaluating the burden of the disease, both the economic and the public health burden. So for this, in fact, the awareness is in a good position, I can say, but the government should work on institutionalizing One Health effort. So GOHi can push in this way to institutionalize One Health effort at a national level and bring resource, human resource, financial resource to a pool. So that would help us to go forward, I think. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Dr. Tsegaw, for sharing with us the experience from Ethiopia in terms of what has been done until now and what should be done in the future, and what has been the contribution of different partners. And the challenge again is, like anywhere else, even if we have wonderful model from Kenya, Tanzania, and Ethiopia has started it, institutionalizing it is something that you're recommending. Wonderful to hear your reflection on that too. So thanks very much, all our panelists. Now we zoom out from the country and we go to the different partners and funders and other stakeholders involved in One Health. And during your iteration, all of you mentioned a little bit on, for example, Professor Kariuki, you mentioned you will be holding accountable for everything that we do as a collaboration. And Dr. Tsegaw, you also mentioned the way GOHi follows our principle is we do it in a mutually beneficial manner. When Dr. Tsegaw, you mentioned, I quote, faculty come to Gondar to train. We usually say they also come to learn from that side. All they bring, it has to be mutually beneficial. It's not only to benefit one part of the world while, it's not giving and take. It has to be a mutual way. As we all recognize, Africa is not only the whole world is in a pandemic, of course, COVID, but Africa is not only in COVID pandemic. We're currently having a cholera outbreak. We're currently having a smallpox outbreak. We're currently having chikungunya outbreak. We're having an Ebola outbreak here and there. And as we all know, an outbreak anywhere could be an outbreak everywhere. And this calls into the role of different partners, funders, and stakeholders to come together. Yes, Dr. Tsegaw, as you mentioned, the avian flu history has taught us a lot, and now the COVID pandemic is teaching us a lot. I want to hear from all of you here on the role of stakeholders' responsibilities, especially focusing in Africa in a way that's sustainable, taking lesson from the current pandemic and moving forward. We'll follow the same strategy. We hear from Professor Kariuki and then go to Professor Kazwala and Dr. Tsegaw.
Thank you, Getnet. Again, let me say that being able to be successful in addressing public health issues in a truly global One Health initiative requires that all stakeholders get engaged in a very meaningful manner. By meaningful manner, meaning that we're not just calling upon stakeholders at the point of reacting to emergencies, but right from the point where we are initiating program plans. Say, for example, we are doing a 5-year strategic plan for the country, and we wish to have all stakeholders engaged in prioritizing their programs for the next 5 years, so that all the stakeholders from line ministries that truly form a One Health approach are engaged right from planning to implementation to monitoring and evaluation and to evaluating outputs and also, of course, disseminating outputs. I'll give you an example. We have, of course, recently been engaged with the African Union in matters to do with antimicrobial resistance, but also other viral zoonotic infections control in Kenya and also in the region. Now, the African Union, through its affiliate Africa CDC, see the importance of engaging all the line ministries in the country and the region, so that when we have a stakeholder engagement, there will be the Ministry of Agriculture, there will be Ministry of Water and Sanitation, there will be ministries, representatives from public health and from livestock and so forth, so that right at the beginning of engaging in planning for purposes of addressing key public health challenges in Kenya and the region, we involve all stakeholders so that everybody is aware that this is our joint problem. It's not a problem of public health. It's not a problem of agriculture. It's not who gave more antibiotics than the other, who misused more antibiotics than the other, but it's a problem for all of us to solve. So that particular engagement with stakeholders, right from the beginning of planning purposes, makes a buy-in much, much earlier. And that then can be able to be sustainable through the process of throughout the process of implementing the various activities to be able to be accountable for the objectives that we have laid down to do. And I'll probably submit at that point and give my colleagues opportunity to contribute.
Thanks so much again, Professor Kariuki. Indeed, as you mentioned, a wonderful example. Some of you already know here that Africa CDC has a conference, One Health conference start. The first one, having a buy-in from Africa CDC level is something else, which is really wonderful. And the other point is doing things in a sustainable manner, the way you put it out there. A very good example, the way Africa CDC is handling the COVID one. It created AVAT as a platform, but at the same time making, COVID-19 and building capability for sustainable, not, as you mentioned it, don't be reactive, rather let's be pretty much proactive in terms of addressing the pandemic. You mentioned a wonderful example, and I'm very glad that you reflected on that too. Let's go to Professor Kazwala. Professor Kazwala, you are on mute.
So regarding sustainability on issues of One Health, I think at this moment in time, most of us are already aware that the health risks are not confined to any population or to any group of living beings within this planet. They are shared. And we cannot deal with them individually. And we therefore need to cooperate among different sectors. We need to collaborate and we need to communicate. So I'll use the 3 C's. We need to cooperate, we need to collaborate, we need to communicate. Because as we are aware, for example, over 70% of the infectious diseases are coming from wildlife. And among those, majority are zoonotic. And we know that people have close contact with not only wildlife, but livestock. So if you have a system which you put in place, either for starting with surveillance, a system for control, you need to cooperate and collaborate. You need to share what information you have, what evidence you have to the other sector so that you become aware, take action. So I would say One Health will be sustained based on what we have in our situation right now. Professor Kariuki mentioned about the MR. It's of concern. We know livestock, in the livestock industry, we use a lot of antimicrobials for various purposes. But who is the consumer of these livestock? It's the human. So we need to collaborate, we need to communicate on what is happening, what activities are being done in terms of prudent use of antimicrobials. So sustainability of One Health activities is based on our evidence which we have from science, that diseases are transmissible, or health risks are shared between human, animal, and other population. So in order for the global community to benefit from this, we still need to break the barriers. We need to be working as one. I mentioned about the formation of One Health Coordination Desk as a model in my country, but I know in Kenya, there's a zoonotic disease unit. I think in Ethiopia, there's something related to One Health. That in the globally, WHO, FAO, OIE are working as tripartite on all issues of common interest. So globally, we think we need to put resources to sustain these collaborations which occur. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Professor Kazwala again. I mean, emphasizing on the collaborate, cooperate, and communicate, a wonderful one. And you brought up the other perspective as well. We focus on the human animal. You brought up the fact that we all share a common platform and a common environment, a common world. So we share this world among the, so I'm very glad that you touched base on that one too. Dr. Tsegaw, floor is yours to reflect.
Thank you. Yeah, what I see is that I share the opinions of Tanzanian and Kenyan colleagues. An Ethiopian situation, in fact, we need to strengthen really this collaboration. I can say it is at a futile stage, but we have to work. We have to establish a system to control diseases, to map diseases, and even to put prevention and control strategies. So we need to bring this One Health platform more stronger. So in this case, we are to work more on the capacity building. We need to have, a strong manpower. We need to have a very good, or I can say, reference laboratories. We need to have at least 1 or 2 reference laboratories in the country that can handle those zoonotic diseases, for example, such as anthrax, rabies. Even we have to, different institutions like ministries should collaborate in bringing their human resource as well as their facilities, and even it should be also supported by the government or by bilateral organizations, UN organizations, and so on. So the major issue is establishing a system, because we know that, especially in African countries, in tropical countries, wildlife is very, very important reservoir for many of diseases, and they serve as maintenance of diseases. So we should see properly how disease is transmitted from animals to from wildlife to domestic animal, from domestic animal to human. We are not really truly understand how diseases are jumped from one species to another. So we have to model the transmission dynamic in the country. Then we can establish a prevention and control strategy based on the information we have. So we need to have capacitate our human resource. We need to bring a system to work on and to maintain this One Health platform. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you all 3 of you for reflecting on the other major topic that we have. Perhaps as we move along, we'll try to be as brief as possible in our response, as time is not on our side. The other point that's raised by the audience here, and also a question from my side as well, is whenever we talk about One Health, the champions that come up front, including 3 of you here, are from one profession. It's wonderful to have that. And we have a question here. What can be done and what should be done to bring other actors in terms of professionals on board? And here, I also want to zoom into what Dr. Tsegaw mentioned on the experience of the Global One Health Initiative on working on the curriculum, be it MPH, VPH, and also the curriculum twinning, and also the success story, how much the Ministry of Higher Science and Higher Education took it as a model, the curriculum, wonderful curriculum twinning program. So I want you all to reflect on how can we bring other major actors, professionals on board for the audience, considering the African setup, and also what should be done at the curriculum side, taking the example from Ethiopia as a wonderful one. So again, very brief reflection from all three of you. Professor Kariuki, I start from you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Getnet. I think that's a very pertinent question. And I would suggest that these kind of long-term plans start at the very formative stages, that we interest our schools through the ministries, relevant ministries of education, to be able to incorporate aspects of collaboration and communication right from basic training, so that as we're teaching our children biology, they fully understand that there is a component of each of the different ecosystems that make up public health. So we train them about public health, we train them about animal health, but also environment, in a way that it links to their own health within their own spheres. And this should be a continuum, right, to where here we are training our doctors, our veterinary personnel, and those that deal with environmental health. By capturing training and capacity building in that systematic way, then we don't lose anybody, we don't leave anybody behind. So that by the time people become professionals, they're already thinking about how can we engage in partnership as One Health? How can we engage in tackling our public health challenges, both in animal health and in human health, from a One Health perspective? That way then it becomes more sustainable, rather than when we become reactive. So those are my submissions, but finding ourselves where we are, we must then have a way forward that as we inculcate One Health in our systems, we do it in a meaningful manner so that people feel they are truly engaged, and that we do not rush to the Ministry of Livestock only when we think that rabies is a problem, but we do it in advance, calling them to come and plan with us on how to prevent rabies rather than how to react. So those are my submissions.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Kariuki. I think you keep on re-emphasizing on those two major words, like doing it in a meaningful manner and doing it sustainably. And that's really very impressive. What we heard yesterday from WHO reflects that one. Again, going back to COVID, when we heard BioNTech committing to have manufacturing in Rwanda, Senegal, and South Africa, not a fill and finish. Fill and finish, we have it from Pfizer and J&J in South Africa, the Sinovac in Egypt. So doing it sustainably, let's start to have the factory there. Let's not only do the fill and finish in this case. And I'm very impressed when you also mentioned bringing it even to a biology lesson. It may not necessarily be at the higher education level. We may need to start bringing in the One Health concept from the lower level as well, going to the the elementary, the junior, the high school level, trying to bring ideas and issues starting from there. Very glad to hear your reflection. Professor Kazwala, floor is yours.
Thank you, Getnet. I'll not be far from my colleague. The One Health approach, as you correctly said, sometimes is skewed to one profession being more on the forefront and the other professionals being either in the back or even resisting in appreciating the One Health approach. And this has been realized through a number of follow-up. I was in a meeting in 2008 in Canada. It was called One Health, One World. And the discussion was, what is this One Health? And there, all the key global partners were there. I mean, FAO, WHO, OIE, and the other international, USAID, Canada, the international agency. But there was resistance. And the one person said, yeah, in my desk in WHO, we don't know what is this, okay? So it was personal, from a personal perspective. But that has been overcome. And now One Health is a concept which is accepted by the global institutions dealing with health. Bring it to our situations. As I said earlier, people are working in different silos. The health and their training is geared to dealing with individual health. Veterinarians are dealing with the animal health, head health, population health. But providing the concepts of One Health through two ways. One, it is for pre-service. That means like curriculum in the undergraduate level, curriculum in the lower level in terms of non-degree programs, diploma, certificate, to have aspects of One Health in there, embedded in their curriculum. In both the human health and the animal health. But for those who were trained before we started to talk One Health, we need to do what we call the post-service training, the kind of CPDs, short trainings, which will tool these people with the aspects of One Health approach in their day-to-day activities. And that was a model which was put forward by OSHEA. I hope you have read of OSHEA. And now it is called Afro-HUD. They are working towards embedding knowledge at the training level to enable these people who are going through the institutions, whether it's for pre-service, post-service, they are able to know what is One Health. But as we said, it's merely being able to inform the others. I am a veterinarian. I'm not going to treat a human patient, but if there is a case of rabies, there is a case of Rift Valley fever, I should inform my next door medical or health and human health expert that there is this problem, we need to take action. And then we work together, coming together with joint projects, sourcing resources for activities which are jointly conducted. So I think the issue of collaboration among sectors is very important for this One Health to be embedded within our day-to-day activities. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Kazwala. For the interest of time, Dr. Tsegaw, I want to take the last opportunity from all three of you to hear about, as you know, we do this one, we are also planning on our strategic plan, the Global One Health Initiative vision, you know, for the coming 10 years, as we reflect on the 10-year behind us. So a quick reflection on what should be done, what should GOHi do from all of you in 30 seconds as we wind up our discussion here. Dr. Tsegaw, if there is anything to say on the previous one as well, please, 30 seconds to 1 minute, all of you.
Yeah, thank you. GOHi can help this area really in bringing One Health, you know, to be communicated at different levels, even informal education as well. So it should be incorporated in the education system, and capacity building should be given priority in both human capacity as well as in facilities. And there should be also a national system established, system that can bring all collaborators together to work on the same platform. So I think that should be done, especially on the prevention of and control of diseases. There should be a systematic approach in both disease investigation and even in bringing resources to the same stage to overcome those problems. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tsegaw. And then Professor Kariuki, Professor Kazwala, last words.
Thank you very much. My last words would be that as a global health initiative, we have done well so far, but we can do better. I think we can engage more of the different stakeholders in all the three different ecosystems, and be able to allow for more engagement, especially in the area of capacity building. Because sometimes people perish for lack of knowledge. We need to empower people to be able to know that approaching public health issues from a global One Health perspective is the most meaningful way of addressing our public health issues that affect us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Professor Kazwala?
Yeah, I think my last word is that the global One Health initiative should look at strengthening and sustaining its programs within the East African region, but may think of going beyond East African regions, but even within the East African region to go beyond the traditional institutions, which we have already benefited from this collaboration. They can be brought in as partners to come up with programs which will impart knowledge in aspects of One Health. When we started, it was really 3 universities, but I think it has gone beyond the 3 universities, and I would wish it expands further to other institutions which have stakeholders in terms of One Health. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much to all our panelists. I mean, not only in being a panelist in this session, but also without the participation and active engagement of you and your institution, GOHi hasn't been, I mean, we wouldn't have been here where we are now. So we really want to thank you all on behalf of the Global One Health Initiative for joining us here and also committing for the future as well. I also would like to thank Dr. Amanda Berian, Dr. Laura Benkley, and Dr. Desalegn Dagafao for facilitating, coordinating all our session and for giving me the opportunity to moderate this session. Colleagues, audience, please look into our other plenary sessions coming up. A very interesting one. The 6th one will be coming soon, and please stay tuned. Thanks very much for your time today. Really appreciate. Have a blessed day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.